Hi there, this is Nathan Lehman at the Ultra Running Company, and today we're going to be doing a shoe review of the Topo Zephyr. The Zephyr is a new road running shoe from Topo, designed to slot between their maximally cushioned offerings and their minimal offerings. And it's got some interesting technology that makes this a very different shoe than Topo has offered in the past. So let's dive right in and take a look at it. As always, from the Ultra Running Company's point of view, we look at three different things. We're going to look at the type of shoe, the surface that it runs on. We're going to look at the stack height of the shoe, and we're going to look at the heel to toe offset. So as we do that, the Zephyr is what we would consider a transitionally cushioned, low drop road running shoe. So starting here with the midsole, the Topo Zephyr has a 5mm drop, and what that means is there's 5mm more cushion here under the heel than there is here under kind of the center of the ball of your foot, what we call the metatarsals. It has 28mm of cushion in the heel and 23mm of cushion on the forefoot. Now, something real interesting about this, as you look at the shoe, having 28 and 23 makes this a transitionally cushioned shoe. It's not one where you're going to feel every nuance of the road, and it's not one that's going to overwhelm you with a plush kind of pillowy feel, but it sure looks like it has a lot of cushion. And what we see specifically with this shoe is you're actually sitting way down. It's kind of this bucket seat, guide rail, whatever you want to call it, that people are moving to now. It's kind of started by Hoka almost 10 years ago now, but probably 8 when it got on the market. And you really sit down inside of the shoe. So even though there's this huge amount of cushion on the side, 28mm is really only right about here. So it's actually not an incredibly cushioned shoe in that regard. Now, what Topo does with this shoe is actually interesting, because if you see this white portion, this midsole portion, it's what we call an EVA foam. It's basically a piece of foam that's built up. It's lightweight. It's kind of traditional in that sense, in that it's what they've been making midsoles out of for years now. In recent past, they've been able to make it a lot lighter, but it's really just a carved out piece that they've put under your foot. In the Zephyr, it's completely different, because as you look at the sole, you can see this cutout right here. That's actually a firm plastic piece of material. It goes from right here all the way up kind of to the top of the sole. You're going to have your EVA first right here, and then you're going to have that plastic piece going right through it, and then above that plastic piece you're going to have a very soft material that Topo's developed, and they call it zip foam. It's really one of these kind of bouncy materials, kind of like Adidas will use with their Boost, Saucony will use with their Everrun, kind of like Nike's putting in their Go Fast shoes. And it gives you this sense of a very plush feel, but it's encased in a much firmer traditional EVA. So what you get out of this shoe is really unique in that you've got this plush layer right underneath your foot, you've got a plastic piece under that, and then a traditional EVA foam, and it gives it a feel that's almost firm, but a lot of cushion. And so when you're running on the ground with this, even though there's 23mm here in the forefoot, you're gonna feel like you're closer to the ground because of this plastic piece. It's like taking the ground and moving it towards your foot. So it's really unlike anything I've felt before. Now, the rage right now is to go with carbon fiber plates in your shoe. That is not what Topo's done with this. It still maintains some flex to it. With a carbon fiber plate through the shoe, these springs that Hoka and Nike and now Saucony, New Balance, everybody else is putting in them. The goal of that is to have a very firm feel that kind of launches you forward. This plastic piece, which Topo calls a plantar flexion plate, does flex, and it's designed to kind of support your foot as it goes through the cycle and drive you forward. So when you flex, that plastic piece is going to pop back a little bit. In practice, I didn't feel it. When you run in the carbon plated shoes, you're going to feel something totally different the whole time. In this, what you get is a more responsive cushioned shoe. So I can't speak to whether it helps your plantar flex or has any particular speed characteristics, but it does create a very unique feel. That is a well-cushioned but firm shoe that you can run really any kind of speed in. I wouldn't say this is a track type shoe by any stretch of the imagination, but you can get up to speed in it, 6-7 minute miles. You can certainly do your slower miles in it, 10, 12, 14 minute miles, something in that category, and you'd really be fine in this shoe. If you're looking for a super plush feel, the Zephyr is probably not the shoe for you. It gives you a little bit of control as you hit the ground. So next piece, as you look at the bottom of the shoe, basically we've just got some high wear rubber, a very traditional Topo design, which is exposed EVA, hard wearing rubber in the places they think you're going to hit the ground. We expect this to last very well. We did have some questions about the zip foam, that inner core of cushion when they introduced it on the Phantom, but 6 to 7 months in, hundreds of miles in, we've seen almost no degradation on that zip foam. So at this point we're very confident in it, and it's nice to see it in just kind of a helper mode in this shoe as opposed to the entire sole on the Phantom, which is their more cushioned shoe. So good wear here. We expect the midsole to last quite some time. In our testing, it's lasted many miles at this point. And then going up to the upper of it, the material on the upper is, again, traditional Topo, a nice kind of woven mesh on top with some welded overlays. And what that means is they've taken a fiber here, made it very breathable, soft. In fact, if you really kind of look at this, you can almost see through this mesh right here. I've actually got a piece of paper stuffed in there, and I can see the white paper underneath the blue pieces here when I look real closely. When I look at it without the paper there, if I've got some light in the background, I can kind of see the light out there. So it's a very breathable shoe. And then these overlays are a firmer material that basically just hold it in place, keep the shape of the shoe. So when we talk about the shape of a Topo, as always, what we're talking about is this nice rounded foot. It does not come to a taper. So if you have a foot that is frankly foot shaped, that is not pointed like an elf at the front, no offense to elves out there. I keep saying things that people get angry with me about, and I love elves and I love pointed feet just as well. We just don't see it as much. We have thousands of people come in each year. More people have a rounded toe or a squared off foot than have a pointy foot with their second or third toe being the longest. So Topos are going to kind of cater to that market that has a slightly wider forefoot with a rounded top on it. Always nice in this. This material is going to allow your foot to really, your toes to splay out, your foot to expand, and it's going to feel really good in that. Really where I think the shoe shines though is kind of in this area. The heel cup really holds your foot in place, and then the piece going over your instep here really locks you in as well. So when I put this shoe on, I am completely secure in this area and then wide open in my toe box. Great feel. The shoe doesn't move around on my foot personally at all, and really feels locked in to the point that I have to unlace it in order to get it off of my foot. Speaking of the lacing, sometimes you're going to have your tongue kind of slide back and forth. Two securing pieces. Usually you're going to have that piece right here that the laces go through that kind of hold it in place. This Topo has a really nice design. I've only seen it on a couple shoes. I think a Pearl Izumi about 5 or 6 years ago had it, but really has two places where the laces go through on each side. So this tongue is going to stay exactly where you started out with. Another important thing about the tongue, and we see companies go back and forth on this a lot, this is a very thin tongue. It is not padded. And what we're finding is that when you have a thin tongue like this, if it sticks up past the collar area, it tends to rub a bit on your ankle, kind of on the top of your foot. When they have it in line with the rest of the shoe, we tend to not see that rubbing happen as much. This really just sits right on your foot. We haven't experienced any rubbing with it. It feels great, locks your foot in, and you don't have any of that rubbing or chafing action right here in the instep. So overall, really comfortable shoe. Trying to figure out exactly where this fits. It's not a race day shoe in my mind. It comes in at, they advertise this at 7.6 ounces for a women's 7. and 9 ounces for a men's 9. For my size 13 boats, this is an 11.3 ounce shoe. So it's not a heavy shoe by any stretch of the imagination, but it is not a light shoe. I tend to use this on my daily workouts. I'll get up in the morning, I want to do 8 to 10 miles, throw this on. The amazing thing is that my foot feels almost exactly the same at the end of an 8 to 10 mile run as it did at the beginning. That's really unique. Has to do with this splay in the toe box and the way that this cushion works. I never feel like this is trying to convince me to run faster. It's comfortable when I run slower, but my foot is really almost less fatigued in this shoe. I feel the same when I get done with my run as I do when I start, which is a really nice feeling. It's not something that transmits through all of the shoes that we wear. So nice kind of workout shoe. Long runs if you feel like it. There's plenty of cushion here at that 23 and 28 millimeter stack height. One important note to point out with Topo is that they measure their stack height with the insole in the shoe. So when we measured this, we were at 19 millimeters of cushion from the ground to the top of the rubber, and 24 millimeters in the heel from the ground to the top of the rubber. Once we threw in that 4 millimeter insole, which is a nice kind of high quality material, then we were at their measurements and we were right on track with that. So the shoe is $130. That puts it kind of in the sweet spot for shoes right now. Kind of the middle of the road for us is 120 to 140 is what we see on most of our shoes right now, and this is right in the middle at 130. So we think you're going to get a lot of life. We think for folks that want a little bit more control when they hit the ground, knowing exactly where they're going to land, having a consistent landing, a nice amount of cushion, but certainly not an overly plush feel, this is going to be a really nice shoe for you. So we hope you'll stop by the Ultra Running Company, try it on your feet, stop by your local running store, try it on your feet. If we can help you at all, you can order it online from us at www.ultrarunningcompany.com. And if you have any questions, we are always here to answer them. Please leave them in the comments section. Subscribe to our channel if that's what you like to do, and you'll get updates whenever we have new product introductions. We're really excited about some of the products coming out this spring and hope you'll tune in as well. Thanks so much for watching, and we look forward to hearing from you soon. Learn to love to run.